All right, guys. Well, I don't like the way that last one ended, or not. Not my problem. I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and delete that stream because I ain't got time for that shit anymore. Jose, I can give a shit less if you want to be around here or not, but you do troll on my shit, and enough is enough. I don't need you to be here. Trust me, I don't. Don't come on here acting like you're holier than shit. Period. What's up, Dan? Them? I do apologize for that, guy. Anybody who wants the link, I'm sending the links to your DMs right now. Um, I'm not gonna put it in the. Actually, I'll put it. I'm gonna put it in the bunker, the new one in the bunker. But I gotta get something. Deal with this first. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm putting the new link in the chat in the bunker. If you want it, go ahead in there. Again, I'll end this one just as fast as I end the last one. I don't care. But the last thing that's going to happen, I'm going to make this very clear. The last thing that's going to happen is that you're going to talk to me like you don't have to adhere to what I say on my panel. Jose, now that live stream is done, why don't you go listen to the one we just had and see if you did cut me off or not? Because you did. And you want to go to any other live stream that you've come on here on and acted as if a troll? Yeah, that's why I can give a shit less. Trust me. Not very. It's cute when you first do it. It's annoying as hell when you keep doing it, and it becomes pathetic as you go on and on and on with it. All right, guys. Again, I'm gonna apologize to you guys on the panel. I don't see any other issues arising. I hope. Maxwell, I have no problem with you coming back on. The link is in the bunker now, so if anybody wants that link, go ahead and come in. Those who are only able to see the link there will be able to. So to minimize trolling. So, like I said, and I don't have Aaron's. If I had a way to get a hold of Aaron, I'd let him back on, but I don't think he's going to stop trolling, so it doesn't matter to me. So I want to get into the actual concept of what we're trying to talk about, and that's what pseudoscience is. A lot of people get very confused with this because basically it's either correct or unverified is basically how I see it. Gotta get those pages back up I had. One of the things that I wanted to show towards that is I have a list of all the wonderful, where is it? What was it? All right, I gotta find it again. But yeah, I don't. Oh, thanks, Aaron. Perfect. Yeah, I don't care if you guys want to go ahead and start just riffing off what we were talking about. Again, it wasn't that ideas and opinions that had anything to do with it. It was basically not understanding how I was trying to get order, and then they were talking over still. So, pseudoscience, science. Where do you stand on what those terms mean?
Can I ask for further clarification, Sean, on what you just said about unchecked or unverified?
Okay. Kind of like I want to find out, and here's one of the first examples that I was given for the scientific method that made me understand. If I go outside and I notice that there's something warm and bright when I look at it, on my face, I can deduce that there's something further to go on to figure it out. I would say that if you stop there and then try to explain it without if you stop there and then try to explain it why or what without any investigation of it, that's pseudoscience. If you take the steps to start questioning and gain knowledge of what that bright thing in the sky is, that's the scientific method.
Okay, so would it be, under your definition, and would it also be fair to include the misrepresentation of things? So, for example, additional therapies in conjunction with conventional treatments of certain diseases and stuff, where the additional treatment may have a beneficial effect to symptoms, but not the reason why the disease is cured. Would you class that misrepresentation of the additional benefits of pseudoscience as well?
Well, I don't know. I don't think there's any. I think you jump forward. I don't think pseudoscience automatically means false or wrong. I just think in pseudoscience, there's no need for I don't even know how. I don't think I've even thought about that part.
I think a good way to put it might be making claims without due rigor.
But isn't it more of the going from observation to conclusion without the middle?
That's what I just said, yes.
Okay.
Making claims without due rigor.
Okay, then I wasn't paying attention good enough. I apologize.
It's all right. I have a shit way of explaining things.
Then, in that sense, anything can be pseudoscience? I don't know if that's a good way of phrasing that. So, can physics...
I'd say an important component is that it claims to be science. Right?
Okay.
There are many things which would fall under that definition of science that you've just given, which aren't science. Which
yeah, I can go
like
that.
Religion doesn't claim to be science. Most of religion, poetry doesn't claim to be science. Psychotherapy, well, depends. Some of them claim, some don't. But when something that obviously isn't science, something that is so poorly defined or so ambiguous or jumps to conclusions by mere possibility or without contacting the real world to verify its conclusions, and claims to be science, claims to be the real science, that's pseudoscience.
Yeah, so then pseudoscience isn't exactly a term for something that doesn't go through the scientific method. It's something that couldn't use the scientific method. Am I saying it wrong?
So this was kind of essential to Karl Popper's work, right? Karl Popper was a philosopher of science who did all of the work, all of the groundwork in what's called the demarcation problem, which is specifically the question you're asking here. Where is the demarcation between things that are science and that aren't science? Right? Where we want to call stuff like history, geography, all of the natural sciences, we want to call them science, the academic exploration, and we don't want pseudoscience such as faith healing and astral energies and stuff like that to be right to be called science, even though they will emphatically claim that they are sciences. Like, so what Popper kind of concluded and proposed is he did a comparison between Sigmund Freud, right, the famous psychoanalyst, the father of psychoanalysis, and Albert Einstein and general relativity. Both of them proposed very odd-sounding things. And Popper said, well, one of them is obviously science and one of them isn't, based on this. When Freud interprets your dreams or your childhood, he can always come to any conclusion that suits him, right? If you say, well, I am insecure or I don't feel well, he will ask you about your childhood, about your mother, and he may conclude, well, it's because your mother didn't hug you enough. And then you say, no, my mother hugged me plenty. Ah, well, then it's because your mother hugged you too much, right? So whatever he comes up with, he can defend it by just moving the goalposts. Whereas Einstein kind of wrote himself into a corner. His theory made these odd, distinct predictions that are unambiguous. When you look at stars next to the sun, they will be shifted by this many degrees. When large gravitational fields will lens light. Clocks at higher altitudes will tick slower. Clocks that are moving fast will tick slower. The events will happen at different times for different observers. These are all things that can be observed, measured, and if any of them is proven to be wrong, you can immediately say, well, sorry, Einstein, but your theory is just, your hypothesis is not valid. The things which are necessarily caused by it do not follow, right?
Well, Barney, didn't Einstein himself say that his theory wasn't quite relevant, so he went to special relativity?
What do you mean? That's not why it's called special relativity. Like we've had special relativity before Einstein, right?
Okay,
The special relativity has been developed for hundreds of years.
Before Einstein.
The first model of special relativity was Galilean relativity. Then it was Newtonian relativity. Then it was Lorentzian relativity. Then it was Einsteinian relativity.
So,
but all of those are special relativities because they only compare certain elements, right? Lorentzian relativity talks about the relationship between electric fields and magnetic fields and how they are relative to each other, right? Galilean and Newtonian talk about mechanics. So
Barney, I have an honest question. Which relativity of Einstein's or Galilean's or all these other folks, which one denotes the bending of a space-time? Is that general?
That has nothing. That's
general.
Special has nothing to do with bending of space-time.
Cool. But that didn't work. General relativity didn't work for everything.
Right, name something Barney? It doesn't.
What do you mean it didn't work for everything?
Well, then why did Einstein revise and say no?
Huh?
What did he revise?
Well, why did he come out with? Well, hold on, because E equals MC
classical
squared.
Mechanics.
E equals MC squared doesn't always work, right?
Yes, it does. We've been through this literally yesterday.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it, yeah. If you covered it, I listened to it. All right. I listened to the beginning of it, so I'll go back. So I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not. He didn't replace special relativity with general relativity.
I didn't say replace.
I know, but okay. Well, I'm not saying you did. It just seems more like you said that rather than. I don't even. That's why the question sounded weird.
To add on to, right?
I don't think so. I honestly would. I'm gonna look it up because I don't think so at all. Because one is describing the gravitational effects in the universe at light speed, at the speed of light. I'm sorry, and the other is explaining just purely reference point. Am I wrong?
What does that have to do with our daily life existence?
So,
right, you know what I mean?
Galilean, Newtonian, Lorentzian, and Einstein's special relativities are all special because they work under special circumstances. They only work for inertial frames of reference, right? You can use them to transform from one inertial frame of reference to another inertial frame of reference and nothing more. They're constrained, therefore they're special. he
mathematically.
all of the ones
No.
before Einstein's special theory of relativity didn't fully work. There were issues with it, right? They would work until we would find out about electricity, and then we would figure out that they don't work. They don't
All the
explain how it
fundamental
works,
forces, yeah.
right?
Okay.
And then when he figured out how that special relativity, how classical mechanics really work, and explained it through special relativity, then he set out to work to say, well, you know what? This special thing, now that we understand this special thing is no longer necessary. We don't need to constrain ourselves only to inertial frames of reference. We can do it for any frame of reference. I can come up with a system which will let you transform motion and effects and physical laws from any frame of reference, accelerated, rotating, distorted, gravitational, whatever, to any other, whatever it is. Therefore, since anything can be transformed to anything, it's the general relativity, right?
So would you
It is
say,
no longer special.
Barney,
It is no longer constrained.
would you say, Barney, when I'm driving my truck down the road and I feel no inertial forces, I'm just sitting in my truck and cruise control's on, but I look out the window, right, and I see effects, right? I see shit moving by. I see it even further in the distance moving less by, right? Like, oh wow, I see that barn over there, but I'm still going 50 miles an hour, but it's not moving as fast as the signpost right next to me. Is that what we're talking about with relativity, kind of?
That's what's being handled by special relativity.
Cool, cool. What is so general
Right.
relativity would be more of the effect of me in my truck, right? Like if I were to step on the gas, and I would just maybe I'd notice a difference, feel the difference. Basically, a more of a non-inertial type
It lets
relativity.
you. It lets you. So, in the first case, when you're in the truck, you can see the earth moving past you, right? You can see trees moving past you, and right? And there is no way in which you can physically disambiguate whether the earth is standing still and you're moving forwards, or you're standing still in some absolute frame of reference and the earth is moving backwards against you.
Absolutely.
All of the effects would be the same,
Yep.
right? The
That's
wheels would
special,
need to
right?
spin at the same speed. The jostling of the car would be the same, right? So that in special relativity, there is no difference between saying when I push
I'm standing.
the gas pedal, I move forward, and when I push the gas pedal, the universe moves backwards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what special relativity describes.
In general,
Special relativity, literally the math of special relativity, whether it's Galilean, Newtonian, Lorentzian, or Einsteinian, it doesn't work if you put it on a merry-go-round. If you put it in something that's accelerating. What Maxwell, Lorentz, and Einstein figured out was that it doesn't work if you accelerate so that the relative speeds are so high that they approach the speed of light at any appreciable meaning. Like if you're moving at 2% of the speed of light, you're already
that's true, right, Barney? Because in my truck, I'm 50 miles an hour. Everything, I feel no acceleration whatsoever. I look out, things are going by. I don't know if it's me or the truck moving. I don't know until I come to that corner, right? And I have to physically turn the steering wheel, and then I know that, and I feel it, right? I feel that inertial pseudo force. And yeah, then I know. So then I'm back into relativity, right? So I go from special to relative, relativity, like right when I turn the corner, kind of.
When you turn the whenever you're changing speed, whenever you're accelerating or decelerating, you will be able to say whether it's you that's accelerating or the Earth that's accelerating. Like you can literally put an accelerometer and feel the difference. The Earth will not be accelerating while you will, right?
Yeah, and so what is the difference between
Do-
special relativity and general relativity in those two instances where,
So
yes, I'm in special when I'm...
special relativity does not
Okay.
let you transform.
Okay. Let's go around the corner.
Does not let you transform. Does not let you calculate effects from one system to another. Like if you dropped a ball in a car that's decelerating, you cannot just use the formula for special relativity to tell you what's going to happen to that ball.
So general relativity describes what?
General relativity lets you transform from any frame of reference to any other frame of reference. You can literally make up your own metric, have it be curved, have it be wavy, have it have non-linear units of distance or whatever, and general relativity will let you transform and keep all of the laws of physics between those.
Yeah, basically uniform to your environment, basically, is what I would say. Is like, if I'm traveling down a road, yes, and I look outside, I'm not moving. The Earth is moving underneath me. However, when I come up to this curve, and there's a stop sign at the end of this goddamn curve, there are so many effects there that I feel and that I must control. You know, I'm not controlling the Earth moving around me anymore. Special relativity goes out the window, because I need to come to a stop. Now, am I stopping the Earth? I don't know, but I'm feeling the effects of coming around that corner and coming to the stop sign. Now, it's no longer special, right? That's general relativity, you could say. It's or just common sense, kind of. You know.
So no, you're not doing the general relativity calculation in your head when you're doing that. You instinctively act against a force which is acting upon you. But if you want to calculate that force, if you want to explain that force, if you want to have everything consistent in your description of what's going on, you will run into problems if you use special relativity to try to do that. Like for very low speeds, for very small differences, you won't. You will just go by instinct, and that'll work out fine. You can even use Newtonian in a very small range, like the difference between 0 miles an hour and 60 miles an hour is literally nothing on the grand scale of things. But if those speeds and those forces exceed a certain point, you will get a divergence, right? Your predictions, your expectations of what would happen will no longer align with reality.
Barney, do you drive a car, from time to time?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think about this shit when you're driving a car? Like when you come up to a stop sign?
No, I don't use general relativity to calculate.
Stopping distance.
No, it doesn't come into play. Yeah. As I said, it doesn't come into play. It's not that it doesn't come into play. It does come into play, but the difference is so small that it's insignificant, right?
Okay. I like that.
At small relative speeds, at small relative forces, it doesn't matter if you use Newtonian or Einstein.
Sure.
So no, I don't use Einstein, and no, I don't even use Newtonian. I use instinct. I use the thing that I've learned through my experience of driving the car.
Exactly, how to press the brake pedal. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta remember. You gotta know about friction. Otherwise, some people would try to slam the brakes on every time they stop.
Well, but you don't have to know about. You don't have to take out pen and paper and use the friction formula to calculate what the forces are and what the exact path of stopping will be, and right the slip coefficient of the tires against this kind of
And
Service.
why is that?
Yeah. Because you can learn things by muscle memory.
The tire manufacturer actually already calculated that. They have
Ding, ding, ding,
you know,
ding.
Precisely.
They have tire ratings. You know,
Yeah.
stopping and starting distance. Or
That's
you know,
realistically where my question was leading to anyway. It was that it's been done. So that you can't really ask that question, Aaron, because you know why.
But I don't think they used Einstein's special relativity to figure that shit out. Is what
They
I'm
didn't.
saying.
They didn't use physics.
They used science for damn sure.
Yeah,
They
used
tested
physics.
that tire over and over and over again on a fucking stop wheel, guaranteed.
Okay, so is
On different kinds of pavement, on different kinds of surfaces.
Perfect. Would
whether
you say
it's wet, dry.
you say that brake manufacturers have to use science and the scientific method in developing these brake pads?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, weren't you? I'm pretty sure you just said that what we were talking about was pseudo still. I'm not 100%, but I thought that's what you said.
There is no theory of a brake pad.
You were saying earlier, Aaron.
Oh, really?
There's no theory of a brake pad working. You know,
Really?
it's like, well,
different
really?
materials.
Okay. We're just gonna guess that it works. You know, we have this theory that it might work.
Perfect. I'm. Thank you for saying that, because earlier you are the one that did state that what we were talking about with the machine basically wasn't physics, or wasn't part of. You couldn't use the scientific method because of the cause effect thing.
No, Sean. No. I
remember.
I was on the cause and effect thing.
You were on the whole cause and effects, which then ruins your argument here right now.
Why? How's it ruined?
It doesn't ruin it, but it definitely shows whether or not your understanding of it, what it is, or definitely describes what your understanding of it actually is.
Okay.
Okay, so is that we were in agreement that brake pad, manufacturing brake pads, developing brake pads is science, right?
Absolutely.
It's not pseudoscience.
No.
Okay.
Physical.
Well, wait. What was pseudoscience about? What was pseudoscience about the oil under the machine there we were talking about earlier?
I was saying that's not pseudoscience. You do
sure?
go into the scientific method to find out why there's a fucking black puddle under your equipment. But as an operator, a guy that walks up to it, you know, we're not scientists. I told you that too, right? So I say, what the fuck is going on? So what do? First thing I do is observe. I get down there, I look under it, and be like, fuck, I can't find it. Okay, fine. It's not a bunch of oil, so I don't think all the engine oil is leaked out. Maybe it's fuel, like you said. Maybe it's coolant. Maybe it's fuel, whatever. Maybe it's hydraulics. So you eliminate the variables. Okay. Well, I'm going to start the machine, run back down there, and look at it. Okay. I'm going to observe.
You don't eliminate the variables. You eliminate hypotheses.
Sure. Okay, so the hypothesis might be like, okay, if I had to have one, I'd be like, engine oil, boom, go start the engine, run back down. Okay, nope, all right, shut it off. I still have a hypothesis saying, oh, gee whiz, I have oil on the ground. I don't know what it is. So
that's not a hypothesis, that's an observation.
Okay.
Comes after.
Listen, I find oil leaks. I don't care what the scientific method is.
But you're talking about it. Why are you talking about it if you don't know what it is?
Sean's talking about it, not me.
But that's the thing, Aaron. The reason I brought up the machine is because that's your area. And whether or not you realize it, you use the scientific method when you're working on a machine or you're doing your job. And you don't even realize it. That's why I was trying to. Mainly, what I'm doing is I'm trying to understand, see if you understand, or if anyone is under the real understanding of what pseudoscience versus science actually is. And I don't.
So you spot a leak on the floor. That's an observation. That's what's called the initial or the motivating observation. Then you do further observations, which is what you are talking about when you say, well, I try to turn on the car and I look under it, and right. Those are also observations. Those are not experiments. When you try to turn on the car, you're just you do not know what's going to happen. You do not guess what's going to happen. You are trying to find out more about what does the engine sound like.
No.
If the car is running, can I see it leaking? Right?
Barney, there are 4 other areas where the oil leak could come from: hydraulic,
sure.
fuel, coolant, and engine oil. So
And you will
when
try
I
to.
said I'm going to eliminate one, I did say that. But I'm not a scientist. So I would go start the engine, run under there, and look and just see where the oil is coming from. That would be the hypothesis, right?
No.
Kinda?
No. That is an observation.
Okay.
Those are
That's
all
the
observations. A hypothesis is the first time you come around to say, I think it's this. I bet you it's this, right? I think I know what it is.
Okay.
That's when you have a hypothesis, not before that, right?
Okay.
Before
So
that, everything that you have is observation and.
okay, so I observed that the oil's black, so it's got to be engine oil because hydraulic oil is honey colored, fuel is dyed red with diesel, and coolant is green. So if I say in my observation, I bet it's engine oil. It's a black puddle, right? And then I run up and start the engine and come back down to observe what is the cause and effect, right? Can I do that? Is the hypothesis in there somewhere?
Right after you destroy a main bearing.
A hypothesis is when you say, I think that this is it. I think that it's the valve, or I think that it's the filter, or I think that it's the gasket, right?
Okay.
That's
So physically
that's
put
a
hand
hypothesis.
physically put hand on valve, physically put hand on filter, say, you know what, this is it right there, right?
Not physically put.
Well then,
When you're observing something, when you're looking around, when you're gathering information, you're making observations, right? Based on your prior knowledge, based on the engineering manual or the machine manual for the car, right? Based on your experience as an engineer, based on what you have worked on previously and what you've heard other people say about your work, you will come to a guess. That guess is the hypothesis. That guess, the idea, not anything physical that you're doing. The guess is a hypothesis. Now, that hypothesis will have consequences, right? If it is that, then this must be true. If it is a broken gasket, then if I take out the gasket, I will find a leak in it, or I will find a crack in it, right? If it is the gasket, when I replace the gasket, there will no longer be a fuel leak. Now, that is a prediction. Those two are predictions. The experiment comes when you replace the gasket, where you take it out, look at it, find a crack, or don't find a crack, replace it, and see that the oil has stopped leaking or it hasn't stopped leaking. If your predictions have been confirmed by your experiment, then you can conclude provisionally, not definitely, provisionally, that your hypothesis still stands, that it is correct, right?
I got you.
It is not proven, but it is not disproven, therefore it still stands. If you find no crack and the oil is still leaking, then that hypothesis gets discarded. It wasn't the gasket.
I got you.
Right?
So if I see oil on the ground, my hypothesis would be, hey buddy, you've got a loose bolt or something. Right? That would be the hypothesis.
Yeah.
So me starting the engine, you're exactly right. Wouldn't do anything to...
Hang on, Aaron. I don't think I heard that right. So, Aaron, you asked if if someone comes up to you and says there's a loose bolt. I'm confused. That last example you gave.
He finds fuel and he guesses that it's a loose bolt. That's a hypothesis.
Okay.
Without even looking at it, just looking at the puddle on the ground.
So research is a step in the process where you make further observations.
Yes.
You might have looked for further things. You may have tried to turn on the engine. You may have looked under it. You may have looked for are there any oil marks here or there, right? What is the you can gather new information but a valid hypothesis is any guess which can be tested, right? You can say it's the gremlins, but then the deductive reasoning would tell you, well, therefore, if I open up my engine, I will find gremlins in there. So you open up the hood, oh, there are no gremlins. That hypothesis has been disproven and needs to be discarded, right?
Yes, I get you.
So
you're right.
If based on seeing a puddle of oil, your guess is that it's a loose bolt somewhere based on what you already know, and you think that that is likely, then that's your hypothesis. Now you need to come up how to test that hypothesis, right? And then you need to perform an experiment to test the hypothesis that it's a loose bolt.
Starting the engine would be my test. That's kind of where you're right about what you just said about the hypothesis. When I see an oil puddle, I need to use all my history, experience, knowledge of leaks and all this stuff, just to say to a customer, hey, you've got a loose bolt or something. Just a guess. It's just a
I think you have a loose bolt.
But to test that, my test would be to cause, right? So I turn the engine on and I'm going to cause a leak, is what I believe what the cause would be starting the engine, so that I could go then and observe and confirm my hypothesis, right?
So how is your hypothesis that it's a loose bolt connected to you starting the engine?
Well, because
what will necessarily have to happen if it's a loose bolt?
Hydraulic pressure is running through that bolt, or it's a banjo bolt, and so if it's not tight, there will be fluid leaking. So the only way I could actually test that is to start the engine, which creates the pressure to begin with, which causes the leak. But I would
That's not the only way to test
it.
If you thought it was a loose bolt, why wouldn't you go to the source of the leak and check first? Starting the engine would just cause
a pressure line. It's a pressure line.
So
agreed. We have those on every car engine in the shop.
That's where the problem is. You are not constraining yourself with a prediction, and that's what makes it unscientific, right? If you say, well, I guess it's this, so I will do this, but there is no relationship between your hypothesis and your experiment. If there is no hard prediction, right? If there is no thing which necessarily follows from your prediction. So let's say if it's a loose bolt and I think it is this bolt, and the leak would have to come from the near vicinity of that bolt. So let's say if I put a handkerchief there, when I start the engine, the oil leak will be at that spot. I will see a black mark on that handkerchief, right, next to the bolt that I think it is. There has to be a connection between the hypothesis, the prediction, and the experiment. If you're just guessing and then just performing some other observation hoping that it will tell you more, then that's still an observation. That's not an experiment, right? An experiment is the action that you take to disprove a hypothesis, to show that your hypothesis is wrong if it is.
Okay, Barney, all fluids in a piece of equipment, whether it's actually, a backhoe, a excavator, a car, all fluids in those vehicles work under pressure, whether it's brakes, coolant, oil, hydraulics, uh,
Not at all
AC,
times.
any of that.
No,
All
that's
works
fine.
under pressure, which is
Okay.
driven by the engine. All
Okay.
that's driven by the engine.
Yeah.
Well, except for the brake pedal, that's applied by pressure. But everything else is driven by the engine. So it's a good test to start the engine and get a mirror. Get down there, you get a mirror, and you look at all the bolts that you think are the problem. Because there's a million of them, Barney. It's not just one.
Actually,
Right?
just for
Yeah.
reality reference, hang on. Don't do that, Aaron. they have plenty of instruments that you can test the compression of stuff without turning the engine.
No,
It's a
that's
great
fine.
way
So
to destroy
there actually
Oil
is a
pressure.
term. There actually is a term for what you're describing. It still falls under observations. It's called a trivial hypothesis, right? Let's say in testing mechanics, if I say, well, my hypothesis is that if I let something go, it'll fall down. Let's use the big lighter. If I let something go, it'll fall down. That is a trivial hypothesis. If what you're saying is everything is driven by the engine, and all of the compressed fluids are driven by the engine. So, and I have a leak somewhere. When I turn on the engine, there will be more of a leak. That's a trivial hypothesis that doesn't really tell you anything, unless you go and observe where it's leaking. And right, that's not an experiment. That's an observation.
You don't know where the leak is when the engine's off. Entropy takes effect. Sorry, Nathan Oakley, and pressures, equalize. Okay?
Dissipate, yeah.
Absolutely. So there is no
Yeah.
more oil leak. Okay. Until you start the engine, which creates.
You don't have to start the engine to test the oil leak.
Go ahead.
Yes.
You can use, if it's an old Chevrolet, I can spin up the oil pump by itself to test for a leak without doing damage to the engine.
Depending on the engine,
or
you
we
got to
could
take
track
apart the top of the engine just to do that. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just start the engine?
That's
Okay?
Because I'm not going to
perfectly
cause
fine.
more
No,
damage
no,
to
Aaron,
cut
Aaron.
Make sure you got oil pressure. What's wrong with that?
Aaron, what you're saying is perfectly fine. It's okay. You should do that. What I'm trying to tell you is simply the nuances of the terminology. When you're talking about experiments, that is not an experiment. That is an observation. That is a measurement. That is research. That is not proving or disproving any hypotheses, right? Yes, you do need to do that. You need to do that to gather information which will inform you on how to form your hypothesis, how to form your guess, how to figure out what is wrong with the car, right?
Yeah.
Which
Barney,
fluid
what
is leaking and where it's leaking.
Yeah.
That is part of the scientific process, but
Exactly.
that is not the part of the scientific process called the experiment.
I got a question for you.
Go
So
ahead.
let's say we find it. We know where the oil leak is. However we find it, is it, and it's a cause of a pressure. The engine built up oil pressure, and there's a bad seal, right? And the seals is allowing pressure to leak out. Is the cause pressure, or the cause of the oil leak? Is it the bad seal, or is it the pressure that the engine generates? Which one?
It is all of those things.
Oh boy, here we go. You are so fun. No, I'm serious, Margaret. This is great. I love it. Because you're right.
Yes, there are material causes, there are efficient causes, there are temporal causes, there are ontological causes. There are so many causes to every event. The cause to your car leaking is that I don't
Would
know.
it be the pressure?
Ford's mother.
Which one?
Ford's mother and father fucking and making Ford is a direct cause for your engine leaking, right? So all of those are
Exactly.
or all of those are causes.
Viable causes. Absolutely.
Yeah, not viable causes, actual causes. Right. You also have
Actual.
efficient causes and
Let me just
what is it? Enabling causes. Like if you're in a dark room, me getting into the room and turning on the light is a cause for your seeing. Though I am not the cause for your seeing. I'm not the base cause for your seeing. Right. I'm just creating the conditions for you to see.
So could
So
we?
same thing.
Yeah. So in that respect, what you just said is there are a million different causes for you coming into the room, turning on the light, and me seeing. There's like a million different causes for that. You being one of them, but very low on the scale.
Yeah.
But me being a human and having eyeballs, and because of my mom and dad and biology and blah blah blah, blah, blah and all this stuff, like there's a million more that overtake you just turning on the light, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, does science?
So in all of that, you're trying to fix the car. So your hypothesis, which is motivated by the oil leak, which is informed by the observations that you have made by turning on the car, by wiping everything clean and seeing if there are any greasy spots somewhere, by checking the color of the oil, by consulting the manual, right? That research and the motivating observation and the observations that you have done on the car will motivate your hypothesis. They will make you come to a guess of what's wrong.
Is you turning on the light science in that dark room when I'm in there? Is that science?
what?
No,
Okay.
no, that's an action.
Yeah.
It's an action. It's me seeing. It's me seeing.
I have a question, Aaron.
Science.
Well,
Aaron,
it depends.
hang on,
It could
guys,
be
hang on, guys,
part
guys,
of a scientific research.
Hang on, I gotta
If
read
I
this.
want to scientifically
Hang on, guys.
prove that you can see or that light is necessary for you seeing, then it might be part of science.
Okay, and guys, hang
No,
on,
no,
hang
no,
on,
no,
so I can
no.
read. Hang on, so I can read this. Hang on, I got a super chat. Thank you, Imstone. Says so. I got 4 free $4.99 super chats. Absolutely riveting conversation. Just kidding. Keep pushing their critical thought discussions. Thanks for your work against ignorance. Thank you, Imstone. I do appreciate that, my friend. Hey, go ahead, guys. You may now continue. Yeah, I don't.
But
You can say that it's part science if it's like Barney just said, part of an experiment. But as in just turning a light on, how would you verify that as some type of science?
I want to ask Barney, is it science? If you just do that one thing, which causes everything. Right?
No.
Yeah, but we know there's a million more reasons of why I can see when Barney turns the light on. There's 1 million more reasons of why behind his little light switch flick. Is it science when he comes in and says, yep, that's the cause. You can. Would that be science or pseudoscience?
Are you in a study?
It is neither science nor pseudoscience. It is the action of turning on the light. On its own, it is just the action of turning on the light.
It's an experiment, right? You came in and say, well,
is it an experiment? What is the hypothesis that experiment is trying to disprove?
Yeah, you're just
cannot see. When I put Aaron in a dark room, he cannot see. There's a hypothesis. There's the observation.
Yeah, but you have to lay those out. You can't just say is light switch science and then expect us to know that all this stuff.
Right? If you have a hypothesis which is informed by your prior observation and research, then that light flick can be an experiment and can be part of the scientific method. Is it science on its own? Is flicking a light on science? No. there is science involved in it. It could be part of scientific research, but is it science? No, it's an action. Whether or not it causes some other things or is caused by some other things is irrelevant. Science is about figuring things out, about testing them and not being wrong about them, eliminating things which are wrong until only the correct things remain.
If Sean's okay with it in the panel, I would love to continue on this topic, but I'm going to change it up a little bit and go to moon observations, if y'all are okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've ran that one to the ground. Go ahead, though. You're good, Jared.
Barney, so this morning I got up, I'm looking south. The sun rises to my left, which is east, and I see the moon over to my right, and it's about a half moon this morning. But the angle of the terminator line on the moon does not match where the sun is in my observation.
Where are you looking at the Where are you looking at the terminator line? What are you considering the terminator line?
From my observation of what I can see of the moon, yeah, over to my right, to the east, to the west, and the moon, the sun is rising to the east.
I guess the better question would be, how are you distinguishing where the terminator line actually is?
Well, I can see it. Yeah.
Well, you can see the fading of it, but you can't. I don't think you can actually see that spot. Could you?
How come it?
It's not just one spot, is what I mean.
Well, then what is it showing me? Like it should morph and move and do all this weird shit, or is it a terminator line because the moon is lit by the sun, right? Sean?
Yeah. Well, okay. So when you're saying the terminator line, you're talking about on Earth, or you're talking about on the moon?
Yeah, I'm looking. Okay.
Because listen, because when you're looking at, you see both. When you're looking for the terminator line on Earth, that's like, that miles wide. It's not a spot.
No. You've never seen that. I've never seen that. I'm talking about terminator line on the moon. Right?
That's the same thing.
Well, maybe. Okay. So I'm talking about terminator line on the moon.
How about this?
And
you're talking about the phases of the moon. When you say terminator line, it doesn't make sense.
Sean, maybe try and let him say his piece. I want to kind of get to what he's trying to ask or what he's trying to say.
All
right. Thank you, Barney. No worries, Sean. I enjoyed that. There's no big deal. So, Barney, when I woke up this morning, let's say it's 10 o'clock, I'm in Texas, 33rd degree parallel, confirmed. Sun's coming up. It's at to my left, east, sunrise, and I look over and I can see the moon over to the west, but the terminator line on it is not angled towards the sun. The terminator line, it looks like it's pointing up into space, let's say. Why is that? What is the explanation for that? It doesn't match up.
Let me see.
This is a completely new conversation that has nothing to do with science and scientific method.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay.
All right, because I obviously can't get a word in. I'm gonna go ahead and do it my way. So, thank you, Eric, Eric, all of them, for the super chat. If you wish to make an apple pie scratch, you must first invest the universe. Carl Sagan. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Got him in my ear, so it's harder to talk.
Away from you. Right.
And the moon.
that changes where and that affects where you would expect to see the terminator line. Right.
I see, because the moon is so far away also, right? So it gets its own rays from the very far away sun, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking or what you're saying, so I'm
Well,
not sure that I can
the
agree
way
with
the
it. But
Terminator line doesn't line up with me, like on this Earth, you know? And yes, you're right. It could be explained by a very far away sun and a very far away moon, right? You know?
Aaron, can I ask a question?
Can Barney answer that one first, though?
I didn't ask a question. I didn't hear a question there.
So it could be explained, you said, by a very far away sun and also a very far away moon, but in relation to me, right?
It is so. It is the fact that the sun is so much bigger and so much further away than the moon that would affect where the terminator line. That the terminator line is somewhere where you don't expect it.
Okay,
But again, I don't know what you saw. I don't know what you're trying to describe. I'm trying to go by what you're saying.
Barney, how would that, just because the sun is 93 million miles away, the Earth and the moon are so close together at that distance from the sun? These two things are so close together. What would cause me, standing on the Earth, one ball, to look up at another ball and go, whoa, that doesn't look right? Right?
Because at that distance, you don't have depth perception. You don't have parallax from the distance between your eyes. You cannot estimate how far things are. Therefore, things in the sky, which are approximately the same size in angular size, seem as though they're equally distant from you.
To the moon or to the sun? Which one you're saying parallax?
Both. Both.
Okay, well, I can see them both in the same sky. I can see them both in the same.
You can see them both in the same sky, yes.
And in our world, the little Earth world, the sun's 93 million miles away. The moon is what, a quarter million miles away. But it doesn't show the same, let's say, angle from my perception on this ball. Because I'm not on that ball, I'm not on the moon, I'm not on the sun, I'm only on this ball.
Yeah.
What would cause that? You would say the Terminator line. It's a clear line. You can see it. We've all seen it. It's called the crescent. It's called the phases. You can see those. What would cause them not to match up with?
Are you just asking me the same question for the fourth time in a row?
Would it be because the moon is 93 million miles away also? Or would it be because it's closer or further? Or would that affect my perception, your perception on this ball? It looks weird, Barney. You know it looks weird. Okay.
Yes, I know. And I literally, I've answered this question 4 times already.
What?
I'll literally try to draw it out for you. Let me present a window. Here it is. So everything exaggerated and in wrong sizes as expected. So if this is you and this is the moon and this is the sun, you would expect the light from the sun to come this way and light the moon so that this half is lit and this one isn't, right? That's what you would expect. And when you look from the Earth, you don't have sense of depth for those things, and they look the same size, and this is what your brain expects to see, right? from your position. However, the real image is something more like if you're here, the moon is here, the sun is way, way, way there, but it's much larger, and so it just seems to be the same angular size to you, and the terminator line therefore falls like this, which seems unintuitive and unnatural to you because you see them as though they're the same size and the same distance.
Well, first of all, that drawing right there, move your moon over, over to the left or the right, because we're in daylight right now, and we would only be seeing the background.
I'm exaggerating to show you because I don't have enough screen space to
move
show
it
things.
left
If I
or
showed
right.
things in proportion and in
Move
their
it
real
left.
sizes, both the Earth and the Moon would be way, way, way less than a pixel if the Sun was any appreciable size.
Move your moon left, all the way over to the side of the screen, to the side of the paper, over there. Okay. Now, don't worry about size of Earth or size of the Sun. It's okay. Just move your moon over. There we go. Now, it's not, see? It's not.
Yes, and so the moon is there, but the sun is, let's say, what would be something like 300 meters off my screen in oh, for fuck's sakes,
Distance,
in that direction.
Yeah, depth. Exactly.
Right. So this terminator line that I'm showing is still correct and relevant. I'm just trying to illustrate one part of the point, not all of them at the same time, right? I'm just trying to show the difference between having two things next to each other they are on opposite sides of the sky, but you perceive them as though they're in relation to each other, as though they're parallel to you, right? As the line between them would be parallel to your ground. Whether the line between them is very, 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 very heavily skewed, almost vertical to your ground.
Move that moon back over. Move it over again. The light that we see on, you got the little ball showing there, the Earth. Okay, that's me. The light that I see there is coming directly towards me, even at 93 million miles away. But when I look over to that moon, the angle's not right. You can hold up a ruler and see, well, the sun's over here. Gee whiz, there's the terminator line. Light. You kind of get what I'm coming at here. This is an old argument.
Aaron, are you saying that you think that the terminator line on the moon is caused by the shadow from the Earth?
No, I'm not talking
all right,
about
no, that's all right. All right. Just confirming. That's all right. Thank you.
Yeah. We're in daylight here. Yeah. What would cause that terminator line on the moon, Barney, to appear if the sun is a fixed distance away from the Earth and the moon, and we are both of us are 93 million miles away from it, and I look at the moon, why wouldn't it match my observation of where the sun is? Like why wouldn't that light pattern match the observation of where I can physically see the sun or optically see the sun, and I look at the moon and the terminator line is pointing up, above it or below it, whatever it's doing. Why does this happen? What does that affect?
I've just explained it. I
You
don't
didn't
think
explain
I
it.
can explain.
You just showed a crayon drawing of the moon far away and stuff. You know the phenomenon I'm talking about, right, Barney? You've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah, you've seen
So when you're looking from here, the moon is on one end of the sky and the sun is on the other end of the sky, right? And you imagine that they are balls which are of the same size and next to each other. I don't know why I'm repeating this, but I don't know any other thing that I might tell you.
I don't imagine they're balls of the same size. You said that. I don't imagine that.
They appear to be the same size, and therefore you expect the terminator line to look like this. Your intuition with things being next to the source of light tells you that if you see the light here and you see the object here, it should be lit like this, so that this half is lit and this half is dark.
Sure.
Right?
Now expand that out. Go. And leave
Okay.
the Earth alone. Yeah.
And
expand that out.
What do you mean expand it out? I mean,
zoom out. I'm guessing.
Make the Earth smaller. Make the Earth smaller. Make the moon closer to the Earth. Right. Make everything a little bit smaller.
I'm not going to draw it in proportion, for fuck's sakes.
yeah,
Not
Aaron.
exact proportion.
Aaron, what are you
but
trying to get at?
know,
Aaron, what are you trying to get at?
The whole point is that you're expecting to see this terminator line. Your brain is telling you that this is the terminator line that you should see, when in reality, because of their change in because of their distance, because of their difference in distance and size, the terminator line is actually here. Right? This is the lit side and this is the shadowy side. That's all there is to it. I literally have nothing more to add to your question.
Let me sum up. It's due to distance and size, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Distance of the sun and size of the moon. Is that what you're talking about?
Distance to the moon and the sun, and the relative sizes of the moon and the sun.
Nothing about the distance from the moon to the Earth. From my observation.
From you, distance from you to the moon, distance from you to the sun, the sizes of them and their apparent same angular size apparent to you on the surface of the Earth. For fuck's sake, you are trolling me, aren't you? You're just trying to.
I'm leading you. I have a question, Barney.
No, Aaron.
I do it. Let Barney play with me, because listen,
Aaron,
he knows I always have a gotcha question. He knows that. Okay. So, Barney, it's the distance from me to the moon.
Aaron,
my observational
Aaron, can you hear me? Aaron, can you hear me right now? Like my mic work?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool, awesome. Get to your question. Stop playing games.
Will do, Sean. It'll only take 1 minute.
No, well, don't. If he has to re-answer it again, I'm just gonna end it because it's getting annoying.
No. I'm getting to it right now. So, Barney, the observation that I see from my point on Earth is due to the distance and size of the sun and distance of me to the moon, and it changes the angular reflection on the moon. Pretty much, from what I see.
Yes,
I can't.
It changes the angle of illumination from the sun to the moon from what you would expect if they were the same size and the same distance from you.
Absolutely, due to distance and size, right? Right.
Yes, for the 8th time in a row.
Okay.
Well,
Have you ever watched? Have you ever here it comes, Barney? Have you ever watched Flat Earth Math, where he holds up the ping pong ball, doing the same observation, and he holds up a ping pong ball Have you seen that video? First of all,
I don't know if I've seen that particular video, but I've seen many videos
he
with
holds up a
supposed.
ping pong ball, and it holds the same terminator line as the moon.
I don't believe you.
It has the same. It has the same reflection.
You would get this. You would
Mm-mm.
you would get the Terminator line that you expect, but not the one that we actually see.
Exact same one. So there is no distance.
There is no distance.
If I can hold up a ping pong ball and get the same exact terminator line on a ping pong ball,
You can't.
that I can
You can get this.
Go to
You can
Flat
get.
Earth Math.
Sorry, you can get this one. Right?
You're talking about this, Barney, right here.
You can,
Check it out. Check it out.
you get the one that you intuitively expect, but as you have opened your presentation with, I saw this thing that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is why.
I wanted your
Talking
attention.
about this.
Go ahead.
That's what he's
No,
talking
no,
about,
you go
Barney.
ahead. I'm
This right here.
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Yep. I didn't know
no,
if you said you
no.
hadn't seen
Zoom in, Sean. Go to where he
Zoom
shows
in.
the exact.
Do you not see what we're looking at, Aaron?
You can see his Terminator line right in between his fingers almost.
Right. He gets closer. Go closer.
What are you talking
what
about,
I'm
Aaron?
saying-
Closer to what, Aaron? The ping pong
Yeah,
ball,
the video.
the moon.
He gets closer.
his hat.
He zooms in. He zooms in on the ping pong ball. Come on.
Aaron, do you know what magazine this picture came from?
No. I'm going to Flat Earth Math. Go to Flat Earth Math. FEM.
Why?
Remember that guy?
I'm trying to show you the moon phases.
Because he did a visual demonstration of this exact same thing,
What's your point,
which
Aaron?
proves that a ping pong ball.
This is, yeah, but Aaron, this is a visual representation.
No.
Why?
No, it's
Why?
not.
Why not?
Because I can't see what the fuck is in this guy's fucking scabby hands.
You can't see?
It's a
If you
fucking
can't see,
ping
then you
pong
better
ball.
open your eyes.
Yeah, for real.
Zoom
dude.
Go
in.
to Flat Earth Math. Ping pong ball moon demonstration. Go
Aaron,
do
you're
it.
on a phone. You can zoom in.
Sean, go to
What,
ping
Aaron?
pong. Not Sean Smith.
Aaron,
Sean Smith.
No. What? Look. Do you see what we're looking at right now? This is exactly what you're talking about. What you have to say? What does it have to do with this? Get to that point.
Go to Flat Earth Math. Why not do science? Do it. Otherwise, this is pseudoscience.
No,
right here.
hold on, Aaron. Everybody's been jumping through hoops for you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you don't you need to step up, dog. You want to make it keep sounding like you're not trolling. Okay, well then, explain what the fuck you want, and then you can. Maybe I'll go to a source. But until then, man, dude, you sound like you're trolling right now, and it's really irritating me.
I'm trolling bad because I had Barney on the hook and love Barney. I love Barney. And he explained everything perfectly. However, when I came to my point of distance and size, does not matter when you go to Flat Earth Mass video and he shows a ping pong ball with the same Terminator line on it. Meaning, close, son.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
How do you know it's the exact same Terminator line?
You understand that, Aaron? You're a really bad troll.
Okay, first off, I've been quiet for a real
Yeah,
long
go
fucking
ahead.
time.
Speak the fuck up, please.
My-
I'm done.
My turn.
I'm
Aaron,
quiet.
the fact that you are saying that this demonstrates something that you believe shows just how little you understand this phenomenon. Okay? The fact that the ball and the moon are both lit from the same direction simply shows parallel illumination. That's it. That's all it shows. There is no
It's not
gotcha.
parallel, shill. Stop it.
Hey, Aaron.
It's not
All right,
parallel.
I'm done.
Aaron.
I'm done.
Aaron. enjoy yourself, because this ain't happening again. And let that be for everyone. Like, really, what the fuck do you come on here to troll for? Aaron, why? Do you really think it's funny? Do you really think I'm entertained by it, or anybody's entertained by it? I don't care if you're playing the other side. No, I got this. I don't care if you're playing devil's advocate. I don't give a fuck anymore. It's annoying, and it's wasting my time. So, Aaron, I suggest you take yourself off my panel if you feel the need to troll anymore. Don't tell me you're not. I know you are, and I'm done with it. That goes for anybody who wants to play that fucking troll game. Like, this is getting, like, real shit. I'm not here to fucking entertain anybody. I don't have to be here. If you want to go fucking play, I think Jose's live. Why don't you go fucking play over there, Aaron? You want to be serious? Then have a serious fucking conversation. Otherwise, you're just wasting people's time.
Let's get serious.
Yeah, I really suggest you start.
What do you want to talk about?
You're about 3 seconds to getting kicked off my fucking panel, and it being the last time you come on.
Do what you do, man. Don't worry about it.
Oh, what'd I do? Peace the fuck out. I ain't got time for that shit. Anybody who, like, you guys act like I'm here to fucking, like, this isn't a horse and pony show. Like, I'm not here to fucking dance and make everyone happy and like this and like that. You realize that, right, people? Not anyone in here. I'm talking to people in the chat. Whether those views go down or up, I still do this. I'm trying to understand shit. And going in a merry-go-round of fucking circles with fucking Aaron over the same thing 5 times is useless. What is the point of being here? If it's funny to you guys, have Aaron start a live stream where he just acts like a fucking idiot and everyone can laugh at him and think his being a drunk is funny. Or go over to Jose's and see how he wants to snap at people that want to play devil's advocate on his fucking place. I'm not really sure why today became the day that all trolls dance here. But fuck you. Aaron, you ain't shit to me. You run heavy equipment. So does a billion other fucking people on this planet. Good job. You know a couple of valves and this and that. If you're going to be an asshole, you're not needed here. Guys, I'm done today. I'm done. Sorry I had to end it this way, but I can give a shit less. If they want to play like it's a game, I can play a game too.
Alright, Sean.
Wait. Hey, Chris, you got such an opinion. You want to come up onto the actual panel and have a discussion about what's our knowledge and everything? Because you run from those. You got 30 seconds at a time. Since you're up and you're here, let's do it now. Since you're all opinionated, Chris, I'll start a new hang up. Just me and you. And we'll see if you still talk that way. Then I suggest, if you're not willing to say it verbally to me, don't talk shit in my chat either. Because I will stop all just to look at you and go, Chris, don't be a bitch. Come on the panel. Bitched out. Right?